Hello, everybody. It's your friend Rick. It is October the 1st, 2017. If you need to reach me because you would like to make a donation to receive my affidavits, my email is rick0327 at me.com. All right, so I took a break for a couple of weeks, but I was still working, still receiving emails all day, every day. Still helping people. Um, then I discovered a wonderful tool on iCloud that if I can block idiots. So I have an idiot harassing me by sending me emails. I can block them. So that's what I do now. If anybody listened to the last video I made a couple of weeks ago, I took the video down after 400 views. After almost a day. I was dealing with some idiot who was, calling me a fraud, and he's, I just think he's some dumb hayseed from upstate New York. There's a lot of rednecks in upstate New York who like these, I don't want to stereotype people, but he was, I don't think he was dealing with a full deck of cards, and he reached out to me, and I basically told him I can't help him because he was divorced and he had a divorce agreement, and a divorce agreement is a contract, and if you get conned by your lawyer to sign and agree to something, you're basically stuck with it for the rest of your life. And I think some people, when they watch my videos or Amon Osiris videos, maybe you're under the impression that we could fix that. Well, a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with are men and women who have children out of wedlock, okay, and the state hammers you with these default judgments, and you become slaves to child support. But if you're divorced like I am, and you have a stipulation, a settlement agreement, which is nothing more than a contract, you're pretty much bound by that. Now, what happened to me was I had one of those, and the state, in the family court here in New York, they would just they decided that, oh well, this is our agreement, and we're going to enforce what we want to enforce. We're not going to ignore what we want to ignore. We're going to change this here, and they just ran roughshod all over me. Now I'm a different story. Now what this guy was complaining about was, well, my lawyer talked me into it, and then I'm like, well, you're kind of screwed. And he's like, well, why don't you say something before people start sending you money? And I'm like, well, you never sent me any money. And then, it dawned on me, this guy probably had my paperwork because he probably got it from somebody else, and he was reaching out to me, and I told him the truth, and I'm not going to take anybody's money unless I can help you. I'm not one of these, scam artists out there. You guys know my past. I've had issues with, somebody else who, was talking shit about me, and while he's talking shit about me, he was scamming people. If you're gonna live in a glass house, all right, don't come after me, because I'm the type of guy that I'm gonna expose everything that for what you are. I like to be left alone. Leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone. I'll I'll ignore you as long as I can. I'll make reference to you. I won't mention your name, but if you keep coming after me, I'll come back after you. And usually, when I come after you, I'm gonna have some ammunition. So anyway, then the guy was calling me a fraud, and I'm like, well, dude, you never sent me any money. He's like, well, I did under a different name, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out he was full of shit. And here's the thing: if you're gonna call me a fraud, you just made the argument for me, because I'm like, How am I a fraud if you reached out to me and I told you I can't help you? How am I a fraud? If I was a fraud, I would have took your money, right? So, and he reached out back to me and he's like, well, you're not a fraud. It basically did a 180. And, I'm like, listen, do me a favor, don't email me anymore. You're an idiot. But, he just, what happened was he was like the straw that broke broke my back. I deal with a lot of idiots, all right? Well, not all the time, but, it gets to me after a while, all right? Because, again, I'm helping people here. I know I'm helping a lot of people. And I'm also, while I'm helping people, I'm getting attacked by morons. Uh, you know, I get emails all day, every day, at all hours of the night. And I'm listening. It's not like I don't have my phone on where I'm notified. So it's not like I'm getting woken up. But when I wake up in the morning, I got a shitload of emails to answer. Then I get attacked every once in a while from people because, oh, you're not answering my email. And, I get attacked from people because they're lazy, they don't want to do any work. Um, then I'm finding out people are reselling my paperwork. You know, then I got people who receive my paperwork and then they want their money back. They pull some bullshit with PayPal. There's a lot of different things that I'm dealing with. So I took a couple weeks off from the videos. Now, and that being said, if I don't make any guarantees, if you want my paperwork, you make the donation, okay? Uh, and that's it, all right? I don't make any guarantees. And it's for my paperwork, as is, okay? So if down the road I come up with some new paperwork, you're going to have to pay for it, okay? The days of me being Mr. Nice Guy, one-time donation, and then I come up with some new paperwork down the road. Like, hey Rick, can you send that to me? Like those days are over, okay? Because my PayPal account does not reflect the work that I put in. Okay, it's my own fault because I don't ask for a lot of money. Okay, because I know that if I ask for a lot of money, I wouldn't be able to help anybody. But it also doesn't mean I become like your dear Abby or whatever. I get all kinds of questions all day, every day. As I said, you got at some point you guys got to put the work in. You got to learn. You got to move. I'm just here to give you the ammunition. Okay, so all right, so I've discovered a new weapon, a couple of them actually, and uh, it's called the Writ of Habeas Corpus. Now, the Writ of Habeas Corpus is usually used for people who are imprisoned. So, if you were going to take Writ of Habeas Corpus paperwork to the court to have a void judgment voided, you're probably going to be met with some type of resistance by the creeps in the clerk's office because that's all they're conditioned to know. But basically, when your liberties and privileges are restrained, okay, you're considered imprisoned, believe it or not. Okay, so like if you're dealing with a void judgment, as you are right now, most of you are dealing with void judgments. Okay, if you got a judgment issued by a fake judge. What's a fake judge? These commissioners, magistrates, ministerial judges, associate judges, support magistrates, any non-judicial person, it's a void judgment. It's nothing but to make you think that it's legit. Now, how do we tackle that? The writ of habeas corpus. Okay? Now, I've talked about in the past the writ of mandamus, writ of quo warranto. All of these are weapons. Okay? But now we're going to start using the writ of habeas corpus. Now, I've discovered another weapon, okay, under Article 4, right, of the United States Constitution. If it would just come up here, okay. All right, come on, get bigger. All right, here we go. All right, Article 4 is for state rights, basically, under the Constitution. Now, we got the full faith and credit clause. Now, this is a very good clause, because what the full faith and credit shall be given in each state to public acts, records, and judicial proceedings. That means, all right, so now if you have a divorce judgment or some type of judgment from another state that's in your favor, the, let's say you're in a different state, they have to honor it. Okay, I had a guy, Andre, in upstate New York. Uh, he used the Holmberg versus Holmberg Minnesota Supreme Court decision that says that basically an administrative order from child support violates separation of powers judgment, because an administrative order is not a judicial order. Okay, it's unenforceable in a court of law, basically. I mean, it does not have the same force and effect as a a court judgment. And the response he got from the family court judge was, "Well, that's Minnesota. We're in New York." All right, this is the type of nonsense that we're dealing with. Okay, these judges are not there to help us; they're there to trip us up. And if you go into the court armed and ready for battle, be ready to come up against a judge who's going to be not trying to help you, not trying to say, "Wow, I respect you. You really did your studying, and wow, I'm impressed." No, they'll use your hard work and studying against you. They'll like, look, oh, I got to trip this guy up. I got to trip this woman up. That's what they do, and that's the sad part of what we're dealing with. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to win. It doesn't mean you should stop learning. It means you should learn more and study more. Okay, so anyway, we would have known. Okay, well, judge, the full faith and credit clause states that the judgment from Minnesota is supposed to be honored in this state. Okay, so I'll show you. I'll give you a good example. All right. Okay. So now this is a Court of Appeals. All right. Decision. All right. It's called People Schildhouse versus Droz, whatever that is. New York Supreme Court, Bronx, New York. All right. And it's not it's a Supreme Court case in New York. All right. And what happened here was, let me see here. Is this it here? Of course not. All right. Sorry, guys. And of course, I don't have it queued up. Here it is. This is it right here. All right. And what happened was the Supreme Court sustaining the writ of habeas corpus constitute a final and binding determination that the judgment of conviction of the magistrate's court was, what's that word? Coram non judice, and void. Okay? Now, here's what's key. Although the challenge to the jurisdiction of the magistrate's court could have been raised by the defendant on appeal. Now, what that means is that what you might come up against when you do this writ of habeas corpus is somebody might say, "Well, you should be filing an appeal." What's good about this case is you could say, "No, this case right here, People versus Schildhouse, says that although, right, what does it say? Although the court could have raised the defendant on appeal from the judgment, although that might have been a more orderly and regular method of procedure, the right to invoke habeas corpus, the great writ, the historic writ of liberty, the greatest of all writs, is so primary and fundamental that it must take precedence over considerations of procedurally orderliness. In other words, procedures of the court. Okay? The great writ, the writ of habeas corpus, If you file it, you're supposed to go to the head of the line in court. That's why it's called the Great Writ. And that's why this is huge, what we found here, or what I found. Okay, especially this case. Now, if you live in another state, you're allowed to use this because you're going to state the full faith and credit clause of Article 4, Section 1 of the United States Constitution, that every state should honor a properly adjudicated judgment from another court. Okay? That's what's good about this. And look, what are we dealing with here? What are we dealing with, a lot of us? We're dealing with these void judgments from these fake judges, commissioners, as I said earlier, commissioners, support magistrates, ministerial judges, magistrates. They're all quorum non judice. And what is it? Quorum non judice and void. Okay? So this is huge. This is a huge find. All right? And being that we have the full faith and credit, we're able to back it up. Now, you're getting ready to go to court, right? Who we got here is the Privileges and Immunity Clause. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunity of citizens. In other words, all of the immunities of the United States Constitution, every state is supposed to recognize them. Okay. Then we also have the Supreme Law, Article 6. Okay. This is a good site right here. It's heritage.org. Okay. I use it all the time. Okay. And what's good about here, it's not showing up for some reason because I'm talking to you guys. But usually over here, it'll tell you what this is. It'll say Supremacy Clause. All right. So if I click on here, Supremacy Clause, the Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties which shall be made on the United shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Okay? They're supposed to be bound by it. We know a lot of them aren't. They got to play games with you. The Oath Clause. Now, and you can click on it. I'm not going to go over every little thing. The Oath Clause. Now, I discovered something else. A lot of these judges, they're skating because they claim that they're not bound by the oath of, what is it again? Yeah, this right here. The Article Section 2 Supremacy Clause. What you got to do is we got to use this whenever Google loads up. It is 28 USC Section 453, Oaths of a Judge. All right. All right, let me show you. And I've included this in my Writ of Habeas Corpus papers. All right, so look, and I'll show you the rub that they're bound by. Okay. One second. All right, I made it a little bit bigger. This is the oath every judge is supposed to take. Okay, also under the public officer law of every state. I, do solemnly swear affirm that I will administer justice without respect to persons, Okay, here's the rub. Under the Constitution and laws of the United States. Okay? Laws of the United States. Now, is there a law that says that every order must be signed by judicial signature? Yes. A lot of you know what it is. Okay? But by using the writ of habeas corpus now, we're going to say, well, your oath, you're supposed to be bound to enforce all laws of the United States. Well, look at this law here. Seal and test. Right? All writs of process issuing from a court of the United States shall be under the seal of the court and signed by the clerk thereof. Okay, that's a judicial signature. How many of you your bullshit support orders is not signed by a clerk, and it's not signed by a judge. It's all fake. It's to give you the impression that that you have uh, a legally enforceable court judgment, but you don't. That means if you have these fake court orders from another state, they're not enforceable under the full faith and credit clause. Okay, you see? So that's a constitutional standard right now they're not meeting. Okay, now here's another one. All right, right here. Now every opinion from the Supreme Court of the United States is considered a law, and they're the opinion of what is constitutional and what isn't constitutional. All right, so in Lou Jan, Secretary of the Interior, Defenders of Wildlife, a 1992 case, it says now in order for the petitioner to have standing in court, what's standing? Jurisdiction. There's a three-pronged approach. Okay. And we've talked about it, right? What is it? An injury in fact, right? So, now if I can find it, where the hell is it? All right. Again, I should have had this keyed up, and I apologize because I wasn't going to make a video. I just decided to make a video. If I can find the damn thing. Well, I know it from memory. Oh, here it is. Over the years, the cases has established the irreducible constitutional minimum of standing contains three elements. First, the plaintiff or petitioner or claimant must have suffered an injury in fact. Now, this also can be not just a physical injury, it could be a mental injury, and it could be an economic injury. Okay? A concrete and particularized injury, okay? Actual or imminent, not conjectural. You know what a conjectural, hypothetical one? It's these bullshit injuries that the states are claiming, on the welfare, okay? Child support agency cannot claim an injury in fact, okay? That's how we got them. I've got people dealing with these judges that are feigning ignorance. Listen, that's why I know my paperwork works, because these judges and these fake judges are pulling all these games on you. Don't give up, okay? That's the reason why they're doing that, because that's how strong my paperwork is, okay? So you can't give up. Second, there must be a causal connection between the injury and the conduct complained of. There must be a connection between you and the injury or the injured party. Okay, how are you causing an injury to a child support agency if you never met them before or anybody? You know what I'm saying? There has to be some type of causal connection. And three, there must be a lot. It must be likely and opposed to merely speculative that the injury will be redressed by a favorable decision. So without one and two, it's not going to be redressed and remedied. Okay, that's how important this is. So these are all constitutional things we're talking about. And that's what a writ of habeas corpus addresses, is to see if your constitutional rights were violated while family court or whatever court was creating these support orders against you, going to these kangaroo court proceedings where they don't let you speak. You bring up the jurisdiction, they ignore you. All of these things can be addressed by a writ of habeas corpus. All right, so I'm going to close this video up. I'm going to do another video down the road about this. Again, I'm just getting warmed up again. I took a couple of weeks off. Again, I wasn't gonna make a video, but you know what? It's time to get back in the saddle again. All right. I have made up the writ of habeas corpus affidavits. If anybody's interested They're available for a donation. Um, Again, my donations is not a lot of money. And those of you who have dealt with me in the past, you know I'm a fair guy. Okay? Um, and the email is rick0327@me.com. Okay? Closing the video up, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with writ of habeas corpus. We're dealing with the full faith and credit clause, privileges and immunities clause. Under Article 1, Section 9 is the writ of habeas corpus. And you guys have to start memorizing this stuff. Okay? Right now you can't see me, but I'm doing this from memory right now. All right? Article 4, state rights under the Constitution. Article 4, Section 1 is full faith and credit that every state must honor a judgment from another court in the United States. Okay? That's to eliminate going through the whole process all over again. It's also, so if you have a judgment in your favor from another state, the court's supposed to recognize it. Okay? The privileges and immunity clause under Article 4, Section 2. You can state this if you go to court. Your Honor, I'm invoking all my rights and privileges, my privileges and immunities under the Privileges and Immunity Clause, Article 4, Section 2. Oh, well, what is that? Well, that's what I'm invoking. Like, see, these judges like to play stupid. They're supposed to know this stuff, okay? So you just stand on that. All right, so I'm going to shut this down. All right, guys, so I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.